She is the author and poet of Reverie. She's a good friend of mine and a great teacher at a church, or you would say?
Children's director.
Children's director.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say your first name, which is Kayleigh. You say your last name because I always butcher it.
Montanye.
Montanye. So it's like Montana, but it's Montanye.
Yes.
What is that?
French, I think.
French?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here with me to talk about a lot of cool things.
Yeah,
One
too.
is the book Reverie. I met Kayleigh probably about a year or two ago, I would say, around there.
Yeah.
Through GCC, Gap Community Church, which you guys always hear me talk about on there. And we had just a slight conversation, and then a couple months later, I found out that she was an award-winning author. She was an author, and her book was on Amazon, and I bought the paperback version, and I also bought the audio. Well, is there an audio version?
No.
No, there's a
ebook.
ebook. That's
I
it.
think, yeah.
The ebook version also off Amazon. So we are going to talk about a little bit of that today, but also she has an amazing testimony, which kind of leads into the book too as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I thought it'd be cool just to kind of start off with your testimony and tell the folks at home a little bit about yourself.
All right. Yeah. I always feel like I'm the type to not there's those people that they're like, oh, I just grew up in the church, and that's kind of my story. I don't have anything big. I always feel like that, but then I don't know. There's been stuff in my life, but I grew up in the church. I went to private school all my life, and yeah, I think I'm doing a bad job at this already. Yeah, I grew up in the church. My family's always been, a family. My parents have been married all my life. My dad did come from was married before, so he has 2 older children, and that's, I think for me, that's kind of been where everything happens, kind of, because it's always been weird knowing that, like, I'm the oldest of the 4 of my parents, but there's 2 from a different marriage, and I think that's where, like, the pressure on me has come to, I don't know, be something that, I don't know, maybe the other 2 weren't, but, yeah, but, growing up, I was, really involved in the church. I really loved church. I really loved my faith, and I was really strong in my faith. Yeah, and it wasn't until maybe middle school that things kind of made me think and, like, made me question maybe. So in middle school, I started going to a Christian school. My mom got a job there, and so we all packed up and we all went. It still is pre-K through 12th grade. So I started in 6th grade. All my siblings started in elementary, and it was a weird time because obviously I'm going into middle school, and so it was scary anyway. But to know that going into 6th grade, I wouldn't have even, like, my elementary friends with me, because I went to private school. Not everybody in your growing up is going to be there. So
This was still a private school.
The middle school, yeah.
The middle school, okay.
School, yeah. But I came from a public elementary school.
Okay.
So, it was, like, really scary, and a big change. I almost felt, like, alone in a way, even though I know my mom was, like, right down the hall. 6th grader, you can't, go to your mommy every time the bell rings. But yeah, so it was weird, a big change, and that's really when I got, like, so quiet and reserved and, like, kept to myself as much as I am right now.
Stop! You are the most eccentric person I know.
Oh my goodness, no. But yeah, that's really where it started, and but yeah, and I think that's really where my first like, writing and everything like that started really. In 6th grade, well, all middle school. You know, it because it was a private school. You know, there was always a question of like, oh, you know, the friends that I have, the friends that I settled in with, you know, I'm getting comfortable with. There's always that question at the end of the year, like, oh, are you coming back? Like, you know, basically, can your parents afford to send you again? And thinking back on it, like that really kind of took a toll on me because, you know, not only did I come from a public school into a Christian school where nobody else came with me, you know, there's always that question of whether you're coming back and, you know, trying to figure things out, like, you know, oh, I'm in middle school, you know, puberty and all that stuff. Yeah. And it's like, and on top of that, everybody's leaving, or there's always that uncertainty. Yeah.
That's got to be hard for a sixth grader, even if you're just changing schools in general, let alone going from, you know, public to private or Christian school.
Yeah. Yeah. On one hand, it was nice because, you know, there was only one sixth grade class, like maybe about 20 kids. So you're friends with everybody because you kind of have to be.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, it's like it's a private school, so it's like parents sometimes can't afford to send you back. That was never a question for me because my mom worked there, and like she's basically the glue that keeps that school together. So they're still not getting rid of her anytime soon. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I think by the time high school rolled around, you know, I already had like 3 years of that like uncertainty, like, you know, oh, I don't know, like I don't know if I really want to be friends with anybody just in case like nobody comes back. And that's when I really kind of found like a home or like solace in like books and stuff like that. So I would read all the time. I would, you know, come home from school, I'd, you know, crack open my book. Like between classes, I would read books. I would even in class, I would read books if my peers were like, you know, talking to each other, and I'm like, I don't participate in class. I'm just gonna read. But yeah, and that's kind of how I started writing, because I found this app. It's called Wattpad. It's where I thought it was, when I first downloaded it, I thought it was just like an app that you could get all the books that you wanted. Like, you know, I downloaded it to look for Percy Jackson.
Jackson. Yeah, classics.
Good book. But yeah, so I looked for Percy Jackson on there, but it was like, I don't know. I vividly remember like not understanding how to like go through the books in the app. Like, I don't know. It's such a weird, like, I remember coming to the end of the chapter and it said to be continued, and I was like, I don't even know what that means. Why can't I get to the next page?
Yeah.
But so it turns out Wattpad is like an app where just like everyday people can just like go on there, write something, publish it. Kind of like YouTube for authors in a way.
Okay.
Like you can post whatever. People can leave comments, likes, and all that stuff. So obviously I wasn't reading Percy Jackson on that book or on that app, but I was reading like, you know, just like people's, like just regular people, their stories and everything.
That's a really cool idea. I never.
Yeah, it's like really big, the app right now, or it's a site too. And like people, you know, that the movie After.
Yes.
That's a Wattpad book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's just like some random girl that posted online, and so the site is so big that like people are getting like movie deals and TV deals and like real publishing deals and everything. It's insane.
It's pretty cool.
There's a lot of books like in Barnes and Noble that I'm like, oh, I read that on Wattpad.
No way.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh crap! I need to maybe put some of these books I never finished on there.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I started writing too. Well, I always enjoyed poetry, and everybody knows in the last couple of episodes I used to be I will say, hip hop artist, quote unquote. But I always loved poetry, and I remember in 7th grade, my mom was always a big writer when she was a kid too, and I guess it just kind of went down the line, but I got published in like the all the schools in America thing when you did
wow.
like a poetry contest thing. I don't even remember what it was. My mom probably has the book at home. But anyway, I just always found something fun with wordplay. Whether it be rhyming words at the end or
Yeah.
just going through the different types of poetry. I loved writing music, and it was probably when I was in, I'd say senior year, maybe a year after I graduated. I started watching the show. What was it called? Horrible show on Showtime, Californication, with the guy that was in the X-Files.
X-Files, yeah.
I can't remember what his name is, but and the whole premise of he was a writer and then his book got turned into a movie and they totally crapped out on it and everything like that. And I was like, well, this is pretty cool. And I actually just started writing short stories. I have totaled up to this year, I have written probably about 11 books I never finished.
Wow.
And some of them are like fiction, some are not, and everything like that.
Wow.
So I can't really say like where my inspiration came from, but what were you writing at that time in high school that you really started getting into it? Were you writing books or just kind of journaling or?
Actually, that's an interesting point. I started actually writing like fiction, like just making up characters and just. I'm not a planner, so.
That's why I have 11 books that aren't finished.
Yeah. So I would kind of just be like, think of a character. Oh, girl, brown hair, blue eyes. Okay, great, and then just see what
just see where it goes.
So needless to say, I was like really bad at that. So there's nothing. I didn't keep anything from that time because it's so bad. But yeah, you mentioned journaling. I have always thought, and I still kind of do. I've always thought that journaling was so like cringy. Like every time I think like, in Christian circles, everybody's like, oh, in my journaling time, or oh, and journaling is so great. But like to me, thinking about journaling is like, it's like, oh, dear diary, today I'm feeling. And
Dear
like,
diary.
That always like, I don't know, it made me not comfortable.
I'm the same way too.
But
I stopped journaling actually when I talked about this on the show with Troy when we were studying Eastern philosophy and religion because I was going through, and I shouldn't say I stopped because I'm actually glad I did, but there was a point in time where I was like literally journaling down everything of like how, I don't want to say how to go against the Word of God, but basically trying to prove the Word of God right through a Eastern perspective.
Oh yeah.
And going through that, and literally like I watched my journal. I journaled from 2016 to about 2019, and I watched just how the pattern of my thoughts just came back to God and to Jesus every time, like that internal struggle. So for that it was good, but then I look at some of the other journals I did, and it was just like, today I did this and thought that so-and-so was really, really mean and stupid, and I really hate them. And I'm like, oh, well, I probably shouldn't have wrote all that down for people to see someday.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But it wasn't until, like, thinking about doing all this that I was like, dang, I feel like this whole time I have been journaling. Like, because that's where a lot of these poems, I have this, like, little blue journal that basically I've collected all of the, maybe not everything, not like the stories that I want to forget about.
Yeah.
But like every piece of like poetry, like I have everything in this little blue journal.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I started around like 2016 too. I think I have like one that was dated like December of 2015. But, yeah, where was I going with that? Oh yeah. Around that time, that's when I started writing the poetry, but like those first few came from like hurt that I was feeling, and I was like, because I thought journaling was stupid, I was like, but I don't think poetry is stupid, so let me like write poetry in order to get like all these thoughts out, not like journaling them. But yeah, and then I just kept doing it, and a lot of them are from like hurt or anxiety or like just trying to think through things, and a lot of them are a lot of the poetry is like I want to say fiction, but not in like a lot of them are not like my own experience. You know what I mean? I feel like my poetry at least is like, it's a fun way to kind of not be me for a second, you know what I mean?
Okay.
not in like a depressing way, but like to think of things in a different way, or think of oh, if this happened to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of what half of mine are, and some of them are like
What kind of inspired him?
yeah.
I like what you said there too about kind of like trying to be somebody else from a different perspective sometimes, because
Yeah.
I think that we can get so caught up in our own heads with
Yeah.
certain things. So why do you think a lot of great poets, a lot of great writers, a lot of their work, and I mean, some of it that you read would seem like, oh, this person was really happy when they were writing this, but really they were coming from a very deep, dark place at that time. And I always ask artists, musicians, poets, anybody that I can ask about this, why do you think so much good material comes out of those dark times?
Oh, that is a good question. I think a lot of it is maybe like we need something to kind of look forward to. So it's like we're in this place now, but like first of all, we haven't always been in this place, and you know we're not always going to be in this place. So it's like kind of looking ahead, or kind of like a fake it till you make it kind of thing, you know. I think at least for me, that's mostly what it is. I know in school we did a lot of, because I studied for children's ministry, we did a lot of different kind of like stations. Like there would be like imaginative play, or like reading, or you know, blocks or whatever, and it's like we had to like think about them in a way that like which is like the best coping mechanism for kids or whatever. And I was always drawn to like the books and like the reading time and all that stuff, because I think with stories, especially with kids too, like if they read a story from start to finish, and if they see themselves in those characters, they know that at the end, like there's an ending to the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's if they see themselves, let's say in the beginning of the story or in the middle of the story, like when the conflict is happening, like they can finish reading that story and they can see the end of the story. And I don't know, I think just to know that there's an ending, or to know that there's something outside of the conflict or whatever, in general, in like all types of writing, like I think that's it.
Yeah.
That's the draw.
Got you. So when did Reverie start getting inspired to be written all together? I mean, I know you collected a lot of stuff throughout the years, but when was the turning point for you of, I'm going to put this into a book?
Well, it was published or like put on Amazon February of 2019. So at that time I was living with my grandmother, who passed away in April of 2019. And so I was kind of there, kind of being her caretaker. And so obviously I spent a lot of time like in the house to, you know, she had a thing that I had to change every few hours. So, so I was there. So again, it's like, you know, in my own little, you know, solitary place, you know, this is kind of what I do to, I don't know, to get my thoughts out, you know. So I did a lot of that. I did a lot of reading over my poetry and everything. So that's kind of when I finally was like, I really am going to put it all together. But for a while before then, I was like, oh, I would love to just, like, it's cool to have it on Wattpad and everything like that, or like in a Google Doc, and to see it, everything compiled together, but like to actually physically have it would be so cool. And then I found this another app that I use is like you get free pictures or something, but you can also make a picture book. So I did that first. I like took screenshots of everything, and then like and then I got it like a picture book, and it looked really really cheesy. But then I was like,
isn't that how everything starts off though?
Yeah.
I mean, you should have seen the logo before this.
I didn't mind the other logo.
You didn't mind it?
No, but this one's nice. I think if you splash a little red, it'll look like a really like fancy, like, I don't know, I think like a suit and tie kind of thing, like.
Okay.
But no, but anyway, they were both good. So
Miss Kayleigh Montanye, I think that I have an idea here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. yeah, yeah, so it came out cheesy, but then I was like, no, I really want, like, I don't care if, if it's not on the shelves of, like, Barnes & Noble, or if it's, like, I don't care if not everybody has it in their bookshelf. I don't know, I wanted to do it for me, just to have, like, my own words, like, in a physical form, whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if nobody buys it, that's fine. As long as I have it, because, like, I don't know, I like to think that, like, oh, I actually did something.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, I know 2 people that have bought it, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Let me see. I'm trying to see if I can get this up here. But, so it was published in Amazon, so tell me who inspired you to actually publish it, and how did you go the Amazon route to publish this?
Actually, I think, well, okay, so, honestly, I was a little embarrassed. Oh, I've been embarrassed of the fact that I kind of write poetry. Not like so embarrassed where, like, I never told anybody that I write.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would always mention, oh yeah, I wrote. But I never really shared it until this.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like somebody inspired me to, like, put them all together. But my uncle, he kind of published, well, he did self-publish at least 2 of his own stories, and then at one point he published, my grandmother, she wrote poetry, and so he kind of compiled some of her poems together. I don't know if he went through Amazon for that.
Okay.
I know it was like a, kind of like, just like a cardstock and then regular paper for her poems. So I don't know where he went through that, but I know he self-published through Amazon some of his stories, and I was like, oh, I didn't actually ask him about anything. I think I actually, like, Googled the ISB,
Oh, yeah,
whatever that number is.
I looked into that too, whatever.
And I think I figured out where he got it, like, through that. Like, I was too embarrassed to, like, say anything to anybody.
Doing some investigation.
Yeah. And when I got it in the mail, that's, like, the first time I told anybody that, oh, my book is published. And when it came in the mail, I showed my grandma, and she was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you didn't tell anybody until it actually happened. And she kept mentioning that, like, a little while after. I don't know, it was just cute. Like, she was like, oh my goodness, you're so crazy, like, you didn't tell anybody. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But yeah.
So was it more so just you didn't tell anybody, more so just because it was like a personal pride thing of, like, I this is mine, like, I finally did it, or you just didn't want anybody knowing?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like,
okay.
Because I think I wanted to see how I felt when I got it in my hands before telling anybody. I don't know why, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's very selfish. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry. But yeah.
Yeah, because I think I got this copy. Probably, I forget even when you told us about this, but I think it was in June of 19. So it was, like, right after the year it came out. Because I've had this since 2019 and have read it multiple times, and it's really, really good, because there's so many good ones in here. And I'm gonna read to you a couple of my favorite ones out of here in a little bit. But first and foremost, the cover here that we have.
Yeah, that's the old cover.
This is the old cover, and you made a new cover. Yeah. So who inspired this cover / who made this cover?
That's a Google image.
That's a Google image, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
But the new cover.
Yes, I'm gonna bring that up here. Actually,
yeah.
I want to show. That's what I was trying to do earlier. I wasn't ignoring you.
No.
So let's see here if I can bring this up. I can.
But yeah, that's why that one looks like that, because it's just a Google image. But
okay. So this is the new cover.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like that image so much that I asked my sister to. My sister is, like, a pretty good drawer, so, like, she's actually a really good drawer.
Okay.
So I wanted to keep that kind of, like, 3-flower thing.
Okay.
So I asked her to draw. So that's what she drew, the flowers that's on the spine. It actually looks really cool, like, as a book. I really wish I didn't forget it. Because it's. Oh, actually, you can see it over here. It goes.
On that one. I just did one screenshot. Let me see if I can.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Get into this. You can't really see it too much.
Well,
but you can kind of see the
Yeah.
The one
So it goes over the spine, and it's like, yeah, I think it looks really cool.
Yeah,
but
I like it.
the rest of it, I kind of just added some things off of Canva. I love Canva.
Okay.
Because I feel so professional when I use it. But
that's like me with Instagram when I just put a filter on. I'm like, dang, look what I just did.
yeah, yep. But yeah, so she drew those flowers. I
Yes.
added some things, and yeah.
I wanted to tell you in person. I love this. Not that I didn't love this cover. I thought that this was awesome, but like I love this.
Thank
this
you.
new cover up here. It's just so beautifully done. I like how you added the blue flower.
Yeah.
Up there too for like some separation.
Yeah.
Which is
it's
pretty
nice.
pretty awesome.
Thanks.
On the back of the book, do you still have the same quotes on the back, or are they different on the new one?
Oh yeah, it's different.
It's different now.
Yeah, because this is actually a High School a Camp Rock lyric.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then when that came in the mail, Taryn, or my sister, her name's Taryn, she was like, that's like kind of like a copyright infringement or whatever, and I was like, oh yeah, you're right, so I should probably change that. But
Yeah.
I think this is the same, and then that's the same. I think.
Just the two there. I wish I would have got the other image.
Oh.
That's
Yeah, I think that's
probably good.
that's all the same. Just the Camp Rock lyric is.
It's just not the camera lyric.
That's what I mean. Well, like, when I first published it, it was like really just for me. There was like the very first thing. I think there was like a Sailor Moon character instead of like my face.
Oh, Sailor Moon.
Yeah, not that I watch it. It's just.
Come on, girl.
I know. I wanted to get into
Everyone
it,
on here knows that I'm an anime freak, so I gotta go with it sometimes. Well, this isn't the cover anymore, so it's not copyright anymore, so we can read it. So what was the purpose behind the quote that she's referring to for those of you that are listening on audio and not watching?
Oh yeah.
It says, "This is real. This is me. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." What is that like? What does that mean to you?
Well, I really like that song from Camp Rock because it
Fair enough.
It comes back in the movie with Joe Jonas singing along to it, so it's like the two songs that come together.
Okay.
But no, it doesn't really mean too much because I always think of like, author bios in the back of the book, and I'm like, I don't really have like a bio, but this lyric sounds pretty cool.
Well, I think that's the perfect bio for you, honestly, because that's just kind of how you always came off. I mean, it's just like, hey, this is me, and this is who you get, and
Thanks. Yeah.
you better like it or not.
Yeah, hey. I mean, I try to give off that vibe.
Oh, that's awesome. So, if you don't mind, I want to read a couple of my favorite ones out of here. This is, and I wanted to ask you that question too, because at the top you have all these, and then you have different things in the corner. So like there's fall, there's redemption, there's Psalms and Proverbs.
Yes.
Where did that all come from?
So I really like I don't know. I think this is like a thing in Christianity, not just like my own private schools. I'm pretty sure this is a thing. Like the Bible is broken up into like the fall of man, and then or create whatever it is like creation, fall, redemption.
Yeah, creation, fall,
restoration,
redemption, Psalms and Proverbs, and then restoration. I'm sorry, restoration, then Psalms and Proverbs.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. At least in my high school, we spent a lot of time on that structure of the Bible, and I don't know, it just always fascinated me. And as I was like getting the poems together, I was like, oh, like I kind of wanted to have like a I don't know, maybe not a theme, but like I wanted each. So I listened to this is all coming back. My mind works like that. Once I listened to an interview, my favorite band, Paramore.
Oh yes, Haley Williams.
Love them so much. I think I have like 5 tattoos of them. So, and the interviewer said something, like always stuck with me, and like I can never pick it up when I go back and listen to CDs or like full albums. He said something like, albums always have like kind of like an A side and a B side. So like the first few songs are always like one theme, and then you kind of get to the peak, and then the last few songs are like a different theme.
Yeah.
and like that always stuck with me, and I was like, oh man, that would be so cool to like do something basically like
with
this.
a book.
Yeah, yeah. And so, and yeah, this was the first thing I thought of. Like I love the whole, the breakdown of the Bible where it's like, you know, I don't think it's like a collection of books that, I don't know, or maybe it's Genesis that does it this way. That it's like the fall and then all that. I think it's Genesis that it focuses on. But yeah, so I was like,
kind of like the fall into the creation story, into the restoration, into the
yeah, and then I think it's like redemption is like I forget. Dang, I spent so much time learning about it. But like restoration is basically like, you know, Jesus coming back and like he restores everything. And I threw Psalms and Proverbs there because some of the really short poems I didn't really have, you know, like a place to plug them in. So it was just kind of like maybe like an epilogue of like, you know, just random,
random like thrown in
collection. Yeah.
Well, my favorite one that I'm starting with is from the Psalms and Proverbs, which is on page 31, and it says, "I can't tell anymore if my memory of you is from a dream or a reality, but I find the answer in your eyes each time our gazes collide."
Ooh.
Oh, that one was really good.
Wait, do you think that's a love poem or?
I think that is not just a love poem, but I think that, well, this is how I interpret it. So one, if you're just reading this, just blindly, just going into it, I would say that you would think that that's a love poem. Okay. I also think that is a kind of a poem of at least trying to pick the brain of Kayleigh that I know, that it would be a love poem, though, in the sense of kind of gazing into Jesus, I think. That if it's like more of a, you know, I can't tell anymore if my memory of you is from a dream or reality, because I think so many of us that have been brought up in Christianity are told of Jesus, and it becomes very stagnant if you don't go deeper with your faith. So it's just a memory of something you were told when you were a kid, that you're supposed to love Jesus and follow Jesus and yada yada yada. Now if you don't actually see the reality of God through Jesus, then that's kind of the gaze. That's what I got out of it, though.
I wish it was that deep.
Did I go too deep?
Yeah, but no. Oh wow, that's really good. This is why I love like songs and poetry and all this stuff. Like, you know, you saw that, and it's actually neither of those.
Oh, good.
It's not a love poem, or that. It's actually, well, I won't go into the whole story, but it's like, you know, it's like if you see somebody, but the only thing you remember of them is like this like bad like traumatic event, but you know, but it was so far in the past that like you can't remember if it was like really a thing, or if you just somehow dreamt it or something. But yeah, but this is why I love this stuff, because yeah, like especially like songs, like, or even movies too. Like I, like me and my dad, we watch movies all the time, and like I love to like look into it and like be like, oh no, it's actually saying this. It's not just about like a superhero who like, you know, saves the world. It's actually like, you know, this and this. And then my dad's always like, no, it was a superhero. Just calm down. And I'm like, no, you're watching the movie wrong if you don't see something else. Yeah. But like I can see. Like, or maybe I would see, you know, this, but then if I go to my brother and then he says, no, actually I saw this, and then we could be like, oh yeah, and I don't know, it's just like, it gives you like a fuller picture. And
well, that's where I think that we totally miss the mark with certain things, especially with our faith and with the Bible in general, because I live by this, that all of life is perspective. I talked about this on the last podcast with Peter Douglas, that if you look at, like, even right now, just us looking at each other, okay, I am seeing the perspective of this room from a different angle in which you were seeing it. Therefore, you have the choice to either believe me that there is this behind you, and then you can tell me that this is behind me, and I can't see that. So if we aren't taking each other's perspectives, that is really, I think part of a key verse of as iron sharpens iron, man sharpens man. Because we don't get the whole picture. If we did, then we might as well just be God himself, and we know that that's not true.
Yep.
So there's different glimpses into the face of God through each other, which is why I believe loving each other is so very important, why spending time with each other is so very important, because and then it can reflect artistically like how it reflects here, just as what I saw in that was not what you were doing at all from the beginning.
Exactly, yeah.
So the other one I really like is in the Redemption, page 26. These streets are not my home, yet they feel so familiar to me. The streets are not my home. I must relearn each time I walk them. I long to find home on streets that feel familiar to me.
Wow, that's actually my least favorite one.
That's your least favorite.
Yeah, I felt, I don't know why I plugged it in there, because every time I read it, I'm like, oh, this is like not my best. But wow, I'm glad you like that one.
I like that one, and that has more of a personal meaning for me that I won't go into because you people know too much about me. Anyway,
why have a podcast if you're not gonna tell your deep dark secrets?
Yeah, I know. Gotta just let it all out, air it all out. And I think I did way too much of that at the podcast with Troy. Anyway,
I need to finish that one actually.
The next one is from Fall, and it's page 20. With death and sorrow, you know that those feelings are for you and you alone. You know that anxiety cares is meant to make you feel at home in the embrace, and that the hold that fear I can't read right now, I'm like all over the place, and that the hold that fear has on you is meant to make you feel like the only one in the world. Death is promised, love is deceitful, death is certain, love is confused. Intimacy.
That's actually the end of one of them. It starts on the...
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I always took it as a separate one.
Oh.
Well, then I got to go back and reread that.
I guess it works as its own one, but...
I like it as its own one.
Oh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, what inspired the whole thing?
I think I was in a really... I think I was in one of my, dark times, and I was just like, yeah, this is what I'm feeling. I'm like, it feels like, everybody keeps saying, just kind of, oh, I love you, blah, blah, blah. You're fine. Then it's like, yeah, you can say that, but I feel like, anxiety and all the depression and everything, like, it feels kind of more intimate because, anybody can say, I think I really said this in there too, like anybody can say, oh, I love you, and then turn to the next person, oh, I love you, but like it feels like your depression or your anxiety is like really just, it's kind of a play on words, like, depression makes you feel like you're the only one, like, like taking you away from everybody else and like really just making you feel alone basically. But it's called intimacy because it's like, depression lures you away from everybody, like, it's just you and me, but it's like, no, it's just you alone, like like that's what depression can like make you feel like, you know what I mean? Can I explain that?
No, no, you really are.
Yeah,
that's so true. I mean, I can't tell you how many times in my life where you just feel like you're just alone with your depression, and your depression is telling you all these lies and things about you that one, I think that's something that we can really learn about mental health, is that some of the depression's lies that it tells are truthful things that happen to you, but that at the end of the day, that's not how people perceive you to be. And I like recently, I was going through a bit of my winter dry spells in depression, and leaving the job that I was at, and then transitioning to this new job. It wasn't until I had left the old job, I had convinced myself, or I had my depression convinced myself that no one cares about you here. You're doing all this work for absolutely nothing. Like, they come up to you and say, you're great and we love you and we're going to miss you so much when you're gone. And it wasn't until the last day where, and it wasn't just the gifts or the admiration that was given to me on that last day, where I was like, and it was actually a good friend of mine who says, you need to actually see that you're a pretty great human being and that people actually do genuinely love you and care about you. And that showed through that last day where I was just like, oh, wow, like, this makes it even harder to leave right now.
Yeah.
And going into that. So I got to go back and read that whole thing as one now because I always thought that those were two separate separate things. Yeah. Awesome. So this was in 2019. Yep. Have you been writing since?
Yeah, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. I went back and kind of, because I have like so many different notebooks. Like I have that one notebook that everything is in, but I write in different journals before I bring it to that one. I don't know. Like kind of.
No, that's smart. Like it's like a safe database of this is definitely the right thing going in there.
So I can like scribble and everything. But so I found everything that I wrote. I thought that in like I can't remember ever sitting and writing a lot in 2020, mm-hmm. but I think 2019 was like a kind of like a dry year too. But I found a bunch from 2020 and I was like, dang, yeah, good.
Okay.
And I've been writing a lot.
So does this mean that we maybe could possibly expect a new book sometime soon?
I think so. I have the title and everything, so.
Oh, you're not telling people about the title though yet? Or would you like to tell everybody here with millions watching at home? I wish.
I actually forget the tagline, so this one is Pleasantly Lost in Thought. I forget the tagline for the other one that I did. But I can tell you, it's going to be called Revelry.
Revelry. Okay.
Yeah, so reverie. I think I'm gonna go with that theme. It's gonna be reverie, revelry, and then I think if I do another one, I wanted to make it reverence.
Oh, okay, Miss Creative. Mm-hmm. Dang, I like that.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what I want to do with this next one. I know I want to like basically put everything else together. Mm-hmm. Maybe not everything else because there's some really bad ones.
Yeah.
But and a lot of just like.
Well, hey, sometimes the bad ones are some things that people need to hear too that are going through the same thing. I can't tell you enough how I don't niche this podcast as a Christian podcast, and I can't tell you how many people just from some of the episodes with the Christian guests that I have had on that non-Christians have come to me and said, wow, like I've never seen it from that perspective before, and that was amazing just to hear and refreshing to hear how that person's doing. And then some of the non-Christians that I've had on, so many have just been so inspired by their stories, and that's why I tell everybody that comes on here, everybody has a story to tell, like no matter who you are. And I'm not trying to be cheesy or corny in that, but it's the truth, and we all learn from each other. So, hey, that dark shit happened to you. Sometimes you might just need to put it on there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's like awesome. The streets one. I take that one, but you don't.
I like that. It was really cool to me. So you moved from PA. You left us and moved to the bottom of New York, not New York City, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like maybe an hour and a half north. I don't know. I'm closer to Pennsylvania than I am to the city.
To the city.
Yeah, like to the Milford area. I'm closer there.
Okay.
Matamoros.
Gotcha.
Like yep.
And you went up there, and you were employed by a church up there, originally as a youth helper or director, or.
So. All right. So I actually moved down here from New York.
Are you guys originally from New York?
Yes.
Your family.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's where the school was and everything.
Yeah.
And okay.
Everything's in New York. So.
Gotcha.
So I was there all my life, and I came down for school, went back to New York after school, but then got a job down here, and then got a job back in New York. So between school and coming down here for a job, I was working, it was like 5 hours a week. It was more like an internship kind of under the children's director at the church. And so, I studied children's ministry in school. I graduated with, children's ministry degree. Mm-hmm. And so I was doing that. It was like, actually me and my sister started it. It was 5 hours for me, 5 hours for her. And we kind of just trained under the director because she had plans of, she always felt led to Texas. So in the back of her head, she was like, nah, I'm leaving, so I need to, train
Was she
people.
down there recently?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yep, she was updating every day. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't imagine.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
Yeah, they were displaced to like a hotel.
Yeah.
And even at the hotel, they lost power. It was crazy. But
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, so exciting stuff.
Well, she's okay.
Yeah, she's good
Okay,
now. Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Yeah,
everything's good.
there, I had a buddy down there too that was kind of trying to keep me updated with everything.
Yeah.
And my first question was like, how do you have charge in your cell
Yeah,
phone right now?
yeah.
What are you doing to charge your cell
Yeah,
phone? I was like,
right.
dang, you got a really nice battery.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so we did that. I was doing obviously other things because you can't live off 5 hours. But
Yeah.
so because that's where my heart is, children's ministry. That's what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Okay.
But
Now, when you say you want to do that with the rest of your life, you mean something that involves a church or opening up something, or?
I think anything with kids in general. Like,
Okay.
so my personal ministry, I don't know if that makes sense. Like my personal ministry, like my personal thing that like I want to do with like my faith or whatever, like just for Jesus, I guess. I want to make a place, whatever that looks like, children or a church ministry or just daycare or whatever, or just just maybe being a babysitter, whatever it is. I just want to make a place for kids to come to be kids and to just just be, basically. Because I look around and I'm just like, these kids are being like shushed into whatever, into themselves, or like they're being like taught something different, or not different, but like to be a certain way, or like I don't know. And
basically you can't be a kid
so
like you would anymore. And
yeah.
that I noticed this in some of I call them my nephews. I won't get in that story. I have 3 nephews, and the older one, he was always just so like energetic and everything when he was growing up. I think I don't even know how old he is right now. I'm sorry, Landon. But just to see him just so consumed with video games, and I'm like, I played video games when I was growing up too.
Yeah.
I mean, now granted, my generation was the test period generation on all this freaking technology, but just to see kids just kind of like be suffering from depression and anxiety that you would think like an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old would be suffering from is just madness to me. And then the fact that parents today just want to throw pills at them to be like, what's wrong with them? And I'm like, well, the pills aren't going to help. But I'm sorry, that's just madness to me. And then you have hyper kids, and they're like, what's wrong with them? And then you just throw Adderall or something at them and to make them calm down, and it's just like, no, I'm sorry, that is sickening to me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Sometimes I have parents that come up to me and they're like, oh yeah, he was just diagnosed with ADHD, and I was like,
no, he was being a kid.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he
was
just
being
a
a
little
kid.
boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times I used to when I was like 5 or 6, my grandparents' house, and this was in Coatesville. Okay, it was a very small house that I remember. I remember I would just run from the living room. So I went the living room, the dining room, and then the kitchen. And I would just run from the living room through the dining room, slide into the kitchen, into the oven, run all the way back, and just do this over and over again while my grandmother's there smoking a cigarette watching Jeopardy. My grandfather's there trying to watch the TV. And eventually he just got so pissed off at me that he just tripped me and I fell. But it's just being a kid. That's how you deal with it. Just trip them. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, just shove them a few times. They'll learn.
Yeah, but no, I get it, and I think that's awesome. Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
So you transitioned out of that, and you're doing something else now. You were saying to me earlier.
Yeah. Well, I haven't transitioned out of that. Well,
okay.
It's kind of a mess, kind of. So when I came down here, I came down here for another pretzel job. I've been working with pretzels for a good chunk of my life.
Pretzel lady.
And I really thought that was going to be it for me. I was going to like be down here, and I was going to, I don't know. I was promised a lot of things that ended up not being like coming to fruition. So I was like, whatever. I'm just going to go back home. Like like I love Pennsylvania. I love this area so much. Like I would come down here and live here again in a heartbeat. Like if there was a kid's job, and a cheap apartment, I'd be here.
Well, we can find you one somewhere. I know we can.
Yeah, that's what I want to do with this weekend.
Everybody start looking, okay?
Yeah. But anyway, so that didn't work out. So I went back, and that was the time where the current, at that time, the current children's director really had plans to go to I had plans to go to Pennsylvania. She had plans to go to Texas.
Okay.
So like she was like looking for an apartment, like she was like getting out of there, and I was like, I basically begged her for her job. I was like, I really, love children, and I know you're leaving, and I want to be back in New York. And so she was like, she said to me when I was thinking about going back, she was like, I had always thought that my position was supposed to be yours. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's really what I needed to hear. So I went back, really, again, it was me and my sister, doing her job. Actually I went back when, like, the day everything shut down for the pandemic. Like, it was crazy. Like, I remember, like, checking my phone every once in a while, like, on the 3.5 hour drive back to New York, like, checking to see if, like, what kind of shutdowns, like, if I cross this border, like, am I going to be stopped or whatever. It was crazy. So that was a Saturday, because I remember going back to church the next day, or into church the next day, and it was that Monday that everything was, like, completely shut down. Like, everything, like, you couldn't even, like, walk out the door. Like, that's how shut down everything was. Yeah, because I remember I was like, I'm basically, like, I wanted to start, like, I had in my head to, like, really go hard at, like, this director's position, but I only had one Sunday to do it. Great. And then we were, like, shut in. But I think starting the children's director position in the pandemic was, like, really good for me, especially because, like, I was nervous. I was like, I have to take on everything that she was doing, the past director. I was like, I felt like I was, like, gonna be thrown into it. Like, I have to kind of, like, learn on the spot, even though I did have some training with her and everything from before I came down to Pennsylvania. But me and my sister were given that time to kind of, like, get familiar with curriculum, and we had to think of new ways to do children's ministry. So we did a lot of YouTube, especially in the beginning there, a lot of Zoom, and we kind of got our footing that way. And it was good. It was good because, it was the two of us. We really got to, we're a good team anyway, me and my sister. We've been working together, like, all our lives, really. Like, I've only had, like, maybe one or two jobs, like, that she didn't have.
Okay.
I mean, like, together. Anyway. Then when we did reopen, we had to kind of recreate the ministry, and so that was really good because I could kind of make it my own, like, so I could handle whatever it is that we were going to do, so it was manageable, and so I went back to that, and it's only like a 10-hour job. It's still only a 10 hours for children's ministry. But over the summer, I think it was maybe July, August, something like that, they lost their, I think they let go one of their office staff. And so I got a call, and I was like, or they said, we have this need, and, we kind of know that you're only really doing the 10 hours children's position. And so they offered me the office job. But then a few weeks in, they were like, oh, actually, let's offer you the communications job, and the office, and the kids, and
let's throw everything on you at one time.
Yeah, and I was like, great. And it was like, it actually came at, like, the perfect time, because I was doing a little bit of babysitting, but she had just, the woman I babysat for, she had just said to me, oh, I'm taking like 2 months off, so, I won't need you to babysit, basically. And it was like the day after that, I got like 3 job offers. It was the church, something at the school that my mom works at, and then it was another Christian school that my aunt works at. And it was like everything came at me, and I was like, oh my goodness. But I really had, like, I felt called to put a lot of time into the church. So I was like, I got to take the church job because, that was part of the reason I went back to New York after living here, is because, first of all, I wasn't comfortable down here anymore. I mean, I love Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But the living situation, everything, I was not comfortable with anymore. But
yeah,
also,
I remember. Yeah.
And I also did feel a call, like, especially back to the church, like, not just to be back in New York, but like especially to be with the kids.
Yeah.
So it was perfect. It was like, wow, I get to like spend my time in the church. Like, I was planning on doing that anyway, because like the babysitting, it took up a lot of time, but still I had extra time to like really give to the church, and so that's what I was planning on doing anyway. And I was like, I can get paid for it too. So yeah, I took that, and just in case anybody from church is listening, I love the job. No, I really do. I love being there. I really like the work, and I really like if I'm walking down the hall, like to the bathroom or something, I'm like, dang, I have a grown-up job.
Yeah, right. I'm really adulting right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that's so awesome.
I've got an office job.
And you get to do what you like to do,
Yeah.
in the position that you do with your faith. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes those positions are given to people that really are just looking for jobs and not really passionate about that. So that's so awesome that you were able to do that and take that leap of faith and go back up there and do what you wanted to do first and foremost.
Yeah, that's right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, number one, I am so honored to be your friend. Number two, I'm so proud of you for the book and the new cover and the new book that's coming out, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Release date or no?
Nope, not yet. No.
Not yet? Okay. I'll keep you guys updated.
Yeah.
So if anybody has any, or if anybody wants to purchase the book, they can go on Amazon, correct?
Yeah.
And I'll have that link down in the description below for anybody that would like to purchase the book. And I'm telling you, even if you purchase, I keep wanting to say audiobook, the online thingy where you flip on your phone, if you want to do that one, it's worth it. I mean, these are just so thought-provoking and down-to-earth poems, and it's not your regular hickory-dickory doc. I mean, these are really, really, really good. I mean, they really are, especially with the ones that I sell.
Thanks.
And I am so proud of you for stepping into the role that you did with the children's ministry, because I knew that was always something that was on your heart.
Yes.
And as much as I would love to have you back down here, I'm glad that you are up there doing what you're doing for the youth and trying to restore all that and everything. Now, if anybody has any questions for you or would like to know more about maybe the book or wants to help get involved with any youth, any type of things, is there a good way to contact you, or just
probably Facebook.
Probably Facebook.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have any other social media.
Okay.
That's part of my job, is social media for the church. But I'm not big on social media, so Facebook, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll have where you can message Kayleigh also on Facebook if you have any questions for her about any upcoming projects, or if you just like to help and support with any youth-based things.
Yeah.
That's awesome. As always, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and at Wallace Production, WALLESS Production on YouTube. And we are going to, you are the 9th episode. So we are going to do something.
Not the 10th?
Not the 10th, no.
Oh.
You're going to be the 9th episode. Actually, no, you are the 10th. I'm sorry. This is the 10th episode.
Is it?
This is, hold on, I'm trying to keep track here. Hold on. I just released 8, right? Yes, that was with Donna. And then Peter was 9. So you are the 10th episode.
Yes.
So for the next one, for 11, we're going to be doing something very, very special, and I want you guys to look forward to that for the 10th episode. And if we can hit a certain amount of followers on YouTube and Facebook, then everybody might be getting a gift. But I'm not going to promise anything because I'm very horrible at keeping promises. But I thank you guys so much for all the wonderful support that you've already given and the love, and I could care less if I have one subscriber or a million subscribers. It's just fun to be able to sit down and chat with people like Kayleigh and be able to bring stories around. So it's just been awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun.
All right. Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you guys later.